Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I want to welcome everyone to our pre-Umrah seminar. Inshallah, this will be recorded. For anyone who needs to play it back, it will be posted in our group chat. So I would like to firstly introduce myself. My name is Rahima. I am the group facilitator. I kind of make sure that everything is going to go well for you, and that if you have any questions, you can come and ask. And inshallah, myself, along with our director, Brother Harun, will be taking care of you throughout the trip. So without further ado, I kind of want to go over the agenda of this meeting and exactly what we will be touching upon. So today we are going to, have our talk about our schedule for the trip, which you can already see on the screen. We will talk a little bit about your tech needs, so your technological needs for throughout the trip as they have changed, as well as some logistics of the trip. So firstly, I want to get into how exactly our trip will look like. So it's you have the calendar on screen, and you should be able to see that before we even meet up at the airport on the 26th, we have it put down that on the 25th, permits will open for the Roda, which is something which is a date which is very important to keep in mind, especially for our sisters, and I will touch on why that is so important. Now, the first day of us meeting together will be at JFK Terminal 1 on the 26th. So we are taking Saudi Airlines, which again is Terminal 1, and we will be, myself, I will be at the airport to greet you and to see you. And I do ask that before you check in, you come and see me. I will have, luggage tags and bags for everyone so that you can use them throughout the trip, and they're great for the entirety of the trip, especially for using within the haram. So I do ask that you come and see me before you go ahead and check in at the counter. So my estimate of what time I believe is a good time to get to the airport would be anywhere between 10:15 and 10:30. That's a really great time to get to the airport because it gives you time to check in and to do whatever else you need to do before our flight, which leaves approximately around 2 p.m. Some people have questions regarding luggage, things like that. So it is, keep in mind the standard packing rules and regulations as per TSA. Especially with hand carries, make sure you don't have any liquids that are above the 3.4 ounces and all of that, as well as we get one hand carry and a personal item to take with you on the plane, and 2 full-size luggages to check in, which should be less than 23 kg. So just make sure that whatever you're checking in is less than 23 kg, and you can take 1 carry-on and 1 personal item on the flight with you. So this is on the 26th, and then we'll be flying to Jeddah. We will land in Jeddah on the morning of the 27th, approximately between 9:30 and 10 a.m. And then we have a layover in Jeddah, and then we will take a flight to Medina. Once we arrive in Medina, inshallah, we will make our way to the hotel where we will get everyone situated. And inshallah, that same night, we will have a walking tour of Masjid Nabawi, which is essentially a way for, if you're brand new and you've never been on Umrah before, it's a way to know how to navigate from the hotel to the haram, but also get familiar with the different gates, and just to kind of ensure that everyone knows where they're going and isn't completely lost or anything like that. And then the next day, because we've had such a long travel, we are going to have a rest day. So on the 28th, that is a rest day. That is for you to do whatever you have to do and to take care of yourself and to make sure that you're getting the rest you need, as it is a longer trip. And then on the 29th, we will have our historical tour of Medina. So with these historical tours, we like to kind of announce the exact time that we're going to meet up in the lobby in the group chat. That way we can keep it as dynamic as possible and make sure that it's a timing that works for everyone. And then again, on the 30th, we're going to give everyone a nice rest day because we will be traveling the next day. So the 30th, Wednesday, will be a nice time opportunity if you wanted to get any shopping done or just simply rest up before Umrah. It's a great time, and obviously make sure that you're getting your ibadah in Medina. And then on the 31st in the morning, we will leave for Medina. Again, it's so important to be part of this group chat and to make sure that you're monitoring the messages that are coming in, because we will be dynamic with that as well, and to try and give you the best timing that will allow us to, not hit any traffic on the way, or to minimize that travel as much as possible from Medina to Mecca. And so when we leave from Medina, we will be in our ihram, because as soon as we get to Mecca and get situated in our hotel, we will perform the Umrah. And I'll speak a little bit about Umrah and the permits that are needed for it in just a minute. The next day is Jumu'ah, so Friday. It's a very big day over there, and you want to make sure that you get to pray Jumu'ah in the masjid. So that's like the main activity of the day, and we just want to make sure everyone gets a chance to rest after the travel and after the Umrah, and gets to perform the Jumu'ah in the masjid. And then on Saturday we have our Makkah historical tour, and the same thing we will post in the group chat as per need. And then lastly, we have our final rest day on Sunday. And this is kind of the last day of the trip where you get to do all of your last minute packing and shopping and everything that you might need, and to really squeeze out as much time and ibadah in that trip as possible. And then finally, on the 4th, we have our flight back to Jeddah. It is a very early morning flight, so that's why I said that the 3rd is like your last day to do these things, because truly, like the night of the 3rd going into early hours of the 4th, we will be leaving from Mecca and going to Jeddah. So I would count the 3rd as your last day to get these things done. Now that's in short what the schedule will look like. I mentioned a few times permits, apps, things like that. So when you go to Saudi Arabia, since the advent of COVID, we've had a new system in order to perform the Umrah and in order to visit the Rawda in Medina. And so the system is called Nusuk, which is an app created by the Saudi government to kind of allow everyone to have an appointment or a time slot for when they can come to perform these acts. Now, in order to download this app, you will need a smartphone or a smart device. We've seen it work on smartphones across the board, but also on iPads. For the younger people, if they don't have a phone, you can definitely put it on their iPad, and it still works. You also need some sort of internet connection. So there's a couple of ways to make sure you have internet while you're in Saudi Arabia. The first way is to just call your carrier from the States and ask them if you have data roaming, and figure out how exactly your plan looks like and if you can extend that to Saudi Arabia. The other thing you can do is make sure you have an unlocked device and get a local SIM once you get to Saudi Arabia. And that will ensure that you have good, fast data the entire time you're there. And I really recommend this for people who need to be plugged in all the time. For one reason or another, this is the best way to have high-speed internet throughout your trip. And then the third thing, and we often get this question, is like, can I just run it on the hotel Wi-Fi? So both of our hotels have the free Wi-Fi available, and it's great within the hotel. But the only issue is that when you leave the hotel, you won't have access to that Wi-Fi anymore. So even though if you loaded the app within the hotel on the Wi-Fi and it's open, if for some reason by the time you make it to the masjid, it turns off or it logs out or has any sort of other issues or glitches, you're going to have to come all the way back to the hotel to reload that on the Wi-Fi and then go back to the masjid. And the reason why that's a little dicey is because these are, these appointment slots are very short, especially in Medina. I really want to emphasize how important it is in Medina to be not just on time, but early for your appointments. So just to speak a little bit about the app itself, Nusuk, there is a guide in our WhatsApp group, and I will reshare that guide and that tutorial video of how to make your account step by step. But just to explain a few things that can be a little confusing, I think, for first timers, is that when you first get into the app, you're obviously making a new account, you're a visitor, right? And so as a visitor, they're going to ask you for some of your personal credentials, like your passport number, your visa number, your date of birth, personal information. They will also ask you for a phone number and an email address. Now, with the phone number, they're not going to be calling you or texting you or anything like that. So you can give any registered phone number that works. That's fine. It just the only issue is that it must be a unique phone number. And what that means is that if you're using that phone number, right, another family member can't use that same phone number. They need to use a different phone number, because what's going to happen if you try to use that same phone number on a different account, once you've already made your account, it'll give you an error saying this phone number has already been registered. That phone number, it's already used for one account, can't be used again. And the email address is exactly the same. It's a unique email address. If I've used the one email address, a family member or someone else cannot use that same email address to make their account. And additionally, on the email account, you're going to have an OTP, a one-time passcode, really truly like a verification code, come onto your email. So they're going to email you a 4-digit verification code that you need every time you log in. So you want to make sure that the email you provide them with is an email that you have access to. It's one that's receiving messages, so not like something where the inbox is so full that you can't even get new messages. It's one you know the password to, right? And that you can easily access, because again, they're going to be emailing you this one-time code each time you're logging in. So you want to make sure you have access to it, and very easily. So the phone number, you know, any phone number will do, but the email address is something you need to have access to, and you want to make sure that you can check and open the emails that come from the app. Now, once you're signed in and logged into the app, it gives you the opportunity to make an appointment for Umrah. The Umrah appointments are a lot easier to get. They are longer time slots, and they just have a lot more of them. So if you wanted to perform Umrah with the group on the 31st, I would recommend getting an appointment anytime after 6 p.m. Another note is that these appointments are in 24-hour format. So 6 p.m. would be like 1800 onwards. And the reason I say anytime after that is because, again, they're very flexible with these timings, and often they're not even checking the permit itself. As long as you're in ihram, they're letting you go. But it's just, you know, the system is in place, so we will take out our permits for due diligence. So just take out a permit for any time that afternoon, that evening. Even if you wanted to take out the last permit, it's fine. The permits start being active 2 hours in advance, and they remain active 2 hours later. This is for Umrah in Makkah. However, and I really want to emphasize this, in Medina, this will not be the case. It is only a 30-minute span for your permit, and within that 30-minute span, you will have to get into a very long line to go to the Roda. So like I told you, in Makkah, it's open, you know, they have a lot of them. They have, the time slots are longer. They're not really checking. Medina is the exact opposite. It's only a 30-minute time slot. There have very few permits available, and they are checking very rigorously, especially for the sisters. So I really want to emphasize how important it is to make sure that you take out your rolled up permit as soon as they open. And so if you look at our calendar, they open, we estimate that they will open on Friday the 25th. Usually on Friday, they open it for the entire next week. And so because we're going that week of, you know, the 27th to the 2nd, or we will be in Medina at those dates, it's best that we monitor and make sure that we get our permit on that Friday, because once they're sold out per se, or once they're out of them, they're out. There's no way for us to get another permit, right? So, right, it's really, really important to keep that date in mind. And we will also post in the group chat right away as soon as the permit's open. And when you see that post, again, emphasizing why it's so important for us to keep up with that group chat. As soon as you see that post, please take out a permit, especially for the sisters, because they've even more limited timings for the sisters. Now, people ask, what time should I take out my rolled up permit for? So you have your calendar here, and you have an opportunity to see, like, you have a free day on the 28th, you have a free day on the 30th, you know, on the 29th, you'll have some free time. So take it out as per your what's comfortable and convenient for you. If you're somebody who likes to sleep early, definitely don't take out a midnight permit. That's not a good idea, especially not because if you miss your permit, there is no way to get another one. If you miss your appointment for your permit, there is no way to get another one for 45 days. And obviously we're not there for 45 days, so you won't have another opportunity within the trip. So highly, highly, highly emphasize making these permit appointments on time, and then also going to them and making sure that they're at a time that you will actually be able to make it. And then the other thing that I will say is that I know I mentioned that it's in a 24-hour format. I mention it every single seminar. I've started mentioning it multiple times in every single seminar, because unfortunately in every single group, there is at least one brother or sister, sometimes more, that comes to me and says, you know, it was a 2 p.m. permit. I thought it was a 2 a.m. permit, or it was a 2 a.m. and I thought it was a 2 p.m. and they mix up their AMs and PMs. So please, 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 please make sure you're keeping track of the time, add it to your calendar, your Apple Calendar, Google Calendar, whatever it is that you need to make sure that you're getting there on time. On the first night, like I said, we will have a walking tour of Masjid Nabawi. We will show the brothers where to go for, for their salams, and we'll also show everyone where they can go once they, at the time of their permit, to go show it's a QR code, to show the QR code at the gate. And there's actually, the reason I keep emphasizing this is I know for the sisters, they have 3 whole checkpoints where they're checking, okay, do you have it? Do you have your permit? Do you have your permit? Do you have your permit? And is it the right time for it? So definitely it's so important to get there at least an hour in advance of your permit starting because again, it's only a 30-minute. That being said, inshallah, we will be, keeping everyone updated as far as these sort of logistics things go. And I think, Brother Harun, if you have anything that you'd like to add, I think now would be a good time.
Welcome everyone to our seminar. I hope you're all preparing, inshallah, to make this journey. And just keep in mind, there have been quite a few new glitches within the system. As we mentioned, like things change, and it's best to be prepared as we move ahead. So just keep those things in mind. And for this week, there are some issues that happen in the system. Some permits did not open up, and just be prepared. It's very important to be mentally prepared for these trips. So make dua to Allah. Allah makes it easy for us, and helps us in doing all these activities, inshallah, while we are here.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you so much for adding that. Inshallah, this meeting has been recorded and it will be posted in the WhatsApp group. So in the meantime, I ask that everybody uses this time to start getting ready with things like the Nusuk app, and if you need to call your local carrier or your credit card company or things like that, as far as your upcoming international trip goes, that's definitely a good thing to start with, and to also start, your packing and things like that. And if you have any questions regarding, any sort of personal credentials or information, I will also post the office number, the Ain al-Haramain office number, in our group chat, so you have that to reach out to. And other than that, Brother Harun and myself are also available to you. You can always private message us and let us know any, inshallah. So with that, I'd like to end the meeting, and inshallah, we will field questions as they come, inshallah. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.